Hello, and welcome to my video. Today I am painting Bane from Batman Gotham City Chronicles by Monolith. If you enjoy this type of content, be sure to like the video and subscribe. If you have any questions about painting, or board games, or early 2000s pop punk, leave me a comment on the video or drop by my Instagram at Memoriesofwe. I greatly appreciate you hanging out, so let's get started. Alright, time to get started. We did a Zenithal Prime on Bane here. If you want to see exactly how I did that, you can go and check out the Batman video, in which I show you how I started with a black base coat and then did a white prime from the top down. Beginning with Vallejo's Flat Flesh. This is a color that I'm really liking for a paler skin tone. I've been using it a lot lately. I really like the way that it covers more than anything else. Bane has quite a bit of skin showing. He's got his chest, his back, and his arms. Depending on which version of Bane you're using from the comics or the TV shows or the movies or whatever, you might also be painting his fingers. I decided to make his fingers full gloves, so I won't be painting his fingers. Reikland Fleshshade is the flesh wash that I'm using to darken down the skin and give us a really good shadow. Don't want to use something like Agrax Earthshade or a brown wash, even though Bane is, slightly tan, because that will definitely bring you into a very strange color for skin. This leaves a little bit of that natural redness in it. Back to the flat flesh again, and this is to basically bring the base color back up to what we started with. So I'm leaving all of the shadows alone, but I'm making sure to hit the major parts of the muscles, especially the abs, his obliques, the tops of his shoulders. Bane is a giant beast of a man, so you're definitely going to have a ton of fun painting up all of these muscles on him. I added a little bit of Ivory to the flat flesh to start highlighting those muscles, doing the exact same thing, picking out smaller and smaller areas. And mind you, the Bane Venom version is the exact same model, just in a different position and slightly bigger because he's, jacked up, but everything else on him is the same. So unlike the Killer Croc, which comes with two very different models, this is two models where you can paint them exactly the same. I added white to the flat flesh. Do not put white on by itself, that would look ridiculous. But white to the flat flesh to get us a very, very bright highlight. And now I'm picking out some of the brightest spots, his pecs, his shoulders, and the tops of his abs. Trying to hit as little amount as I can, almost like an edge highlight. Next up is black. Use whatever your favorite black is, but make sure that you do a really solid covering of it. You're probably going to have to do 2 or 3 passes, because if you have it thin enough not to streak, it'll be too thin to do good coverage. If it's too thick, it'll be really gross. So here is Waaagh Flesh from Citadel. I like this color of green. Any sort of foresty green makes a great base color for the straps that Bane is using to carry around his metal canister on his back that is holding his venom in it. And then also his belt. So I'm hitting both of those areas. And then a new color for me, Escorpina Green. This is a very bright green, and I'm using this to start highlighting. So we're doing kind of the front 2/3 and the back 2/3. We're making sure to leave shadows underneath the arms. So you can see we're just brightening it up, and we'll do the same thing on the back as well, and on his belt. Now I'm adding lemon yellow to that Escorpina green to get us a really, really bright green. We want some great contrast on this. So that does a really good job to give you the color needed for highlights. I really like those 3 colors combined. German Gray is how we're going to start highlighting black. If you've been following along and did Batman, Nightwing, and Catwoman before this, then you're very familiar with how I highlight black. We're going with German gray first. This is going to make up the bulk of our highlights. We're going to cover most of the model, most of the black pieces of the model. Do not forget that he's got his 2 gloves, he's got his boots, knee pads, pants. He also has a steel ring around his neck. Maybe it's steel. I don't know really what it is. I kind of treated it as like really banged up dingy steel, so I'm not going to use any metallics. I'm basically going to paint it the exact same way I'm painting all the pants and everything like that, using the same colors, except for I'm going to push the highlights extra bright on that. And then also his mask. Make sure you get his mask as well. So here we're adding a little bit of Mechanicus standard gray to start getting us into the highlight colors. Again, I'm doing all of the same pieces, picking out smaller and smaller areas. And then this is pure Mechanicus standard gray, which is the brightest that I went for his pants and his gloves. But for the steel ring around his neck, I then added some wolf gray to really get into those bright highlights. So any sort of like white or very, very light gray, you can get into those highlights, and you'll see it done on the model now. It's kind of far away in this shot, but as I turn him around, you can see that now the ring around his neck looks like metal. This is flat red, and I'm doing this early because next up you're going to have to paint white on the face mask, and you want to have that red already done so that you don't have to redo the white later. I'm using flat brown for the, I guess we can call them tubes that are coming out of the Venom canister and going into the back of Bane's head. There are a couple little windows on these tubes that are going to show the Venom in the tube. So make sure that you leave a couple spaces blank, because the green, well, if you're going to use green, I guess you can use orange or red, whatever color you want your Venom to be. But if you want it to be basically any color other than red, I guess, you need to leave space because it's hard to cover brown with anything but red, and have it look really solid. Same thing on the back here, we're using a new color, Sun Yellow. I really like this orangish yellow. It has great coverage. It's a great base coat for if you want to do a brighter yellow, which I'm doing right away here. Lemon Yellow right on top of that, using just the center of this metal canister on the back to give it a really bright highlight in the middle. It also has a window where I'm going to put some Venom in. I added Ivory to the flat brown, and now we're going to highlight these tubes that are coming out of his back. Escorpina green. Need a bright lime green. Any lime green would do. And so I'm painting up the tubes and the little window on his back with this Escorpina green. And then we'll come back and highlight this. There is a little bit of metal that's also on the side of the canister and the bottom of the canister. I also painted that the same time that I painted the pants with the black Mechanicus and then to a much brighter color. So here's Lemon Yellow, and that's just a tap on the top to get us some highlights. Same thing here, kind of just painting in the top third, just to make it a little brighter. Now we're on our home run here. So Wolf Gray, I'm using to line up the white, making sure that the eyes are the right size. Wolf Gray also covers over the black way better than white would by itself. And then we'll come back after this with white and highlight it up. And with that, you can base the miniature any way you want. Watching the Batman video, you can see how I've been basing the miniatures. I added a little bit of flair to this one, but let me know what you think down in the comments below. What are you thinking about the game? What do you think about these miniatures? Season 2 just went through Kickstarter. I'm also going to show you some pictures here of the Venom Bane as well. But I greatly appreciate you sticking around and watching, and check out this new outro. Hey, thanks for watching my videos. I greatly appreciate it. If you want to see more, make sure you subscribe so that you'll be alerted every time I release a new one. If you want to see 2 that have already been produced and were hand-picked by these 2 crazy kids, then you can click on the links here on the screen now. Otherwise, thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you all next time.